Hello, folks. Tonight we're going to do lesson 139, 12 paragraphs. We'll read two at a time, and we'll try to do it in under an hour if possible. All right. Lesson 139, I will accept atonement for myself. And I'll go ahead and start. I'll do paragraph 1 and 2. Here is the end of choice. For here we come to a decision to accept ourselves as God created us. And what is choice except uncertainty of what we are? There is no doubt that is not rooted here. There is no question but reflects this one. There is no conflict that does not entail the single simple question, what am I? Paragraph 2. Yet who could ask this question except one who has refused to recognize himself? Only refusal to accept yourself can make the question seem to be sincere. The only thing that can be surely known by any living thing is what it is. From this one point of certainty, it looks on other things as certain as itself. Okay. The title, I will accept atonement for myself. Okay. And so it's a form of saying, I will remember who I truly am. It's a different way of saying it. And so basically you need atonement simply because you have denied who you truly are, or you have forgotten who you truly are. And then your denial of who you are does not change who you are. And so anytime you're experiencing any unloving thought, you're in essence denying who you are unconsciously. You're denying who you are. Okay. And so the idea for today's lesson is to try to remember who we are. And so a way to remember who we are is by aligning with the mind of God with love and remembering we are one with God. Atonement, if you separate that word a little bit, it says at, one with kind of thing. So at one with the mind of God. So I will accept that my mind is one with the mind of God. And so there are times when we remember and there's times when we forget. And when we forget, we don't have to punish ourselves. We simply have to use that moment to practice remembering who we truly are. And Isabel is lesson 139, and Mary is 139, lesson 139. Any questions or comments on paragraph 1 and 2?
I'll jump in quick. It's Eric. I really like this lesson. It was what came to me right when you started speaking, James. I mean, literally the first line, here is the end of choice. It's almost like a crossroads, right? And for me, this is basically the first time in my life that I realized I had a choice, that I could remember. This lesson reminds me of the first time ever in my life that I remembered who I am. It's when I went through my dark night of the soul and I started, and it's a bit dramatic, but I think it's important for me to share because now that I can see more clearly with these choices to go from ego to self-love, I'm much farther along. It really is important for me to remember where I started. And this is the beginning for me when I realized I there was another way. Like this was the end of my choice. I'm here to make this decision and to accept myself for who I am, or at least begin that path. So this was this particularly poignant lesson for me.
Yeah, we've tried it the ego's way, and we were programmed to believe that that was just the way, right?
Yes.
And so we thought we had no choice because it was just the way that we were taught to be. And now we're starting to recognize that no, we do have a choice. And anytime I'm feeling a lack of peace or a lack of joy, I can choose once again. And I can choose a different road, a different path. And that's called free will. And so you can go ahead and continue on the road that you've been programmed with, the road that never leads you to peace or to joy. Or you can decide, you know what? This road that I was taught, or these directions that I was given, never led me to my desired destination. And so there must be a better way. And this is what we're saying here today, that there is a better way. And that is by accepting that your mind is one with the mind of God. And that when you make decisions in alignment with the mind of God, you have peace and you have joy.
That's the alignment with the divine design. You know,
Yes.
imagine an architecture. Let's imagine a building, you know, that has a lot of things to do. That it's better to undo, better to bring it down so we can build something new, align it to what it's supposed to be, the divine design. This is one of the more kind, loving, merciful, you know, the atonement. It's giving us this chance to undo things, to cancel the past without going to the thoughts or intentions or anything to punish anything in the past. On the contrary, it's like close this fairy tale book. Just close it and let's start over. Undo it. Forget it. Let it go. Right? And come back here and do it. It's okay. And remember who you are. Simba, you know, like Lion King said to Simba, remember who you are. He goes like, oh my, I can't, but remember who you are. I will start growing and growing and then remembering that. And the voice will be in his head and his mind, you know, and he started like gaining power, gaining the strength to remember who he was. It was a beautiful movie.
And in paragraph number 1, sentence 2, for here we come to a decision to accept ourselves as God created us. Okay? So God is love, right? And so we must be that love, right? And so there's many of love's expressions, such as kindness, compassion, forgiveness, peace, joy. All those is who we are. And so when we're experiencing those, we're just accepting ourselves as God created us. And because we're God's creations and his children, we are worthy of his inheritance, which is love and love's expressions. And so whenever you're not experiencing any of love's expressions, just stop, okay? Remind yourself, I am God's child in creation. I am worthy of his inheritance. His inheritance is love and all love's expressions. And so I can now choose once again and thus accept the atonement for myself, remember who I am, and shine my light bright. Any other comments and questions for paragraph 1 and 2? All right. Would somebody like to read 3 and 4?
I will.
All right.
Uncertainty about what you must be is self-deception on a scale so vast, its magnitude can hardly be conceived. To be alive and not to know yourself is to believe that you are really dead. For what is life except to be yourself? And what but you can be alive instead? But who is the doubter? What is it he doubts? Whom does he question? Who can answer him? He merely states that he is not himself, and therefore, being something else, becomes a questioner of what that something is. Yet he could never be alive at all unless he knew the answer. If he asks as if he does not know, it merely shows he does not want to be the thing he is. He has accepted it because he lives, has judged against it and denied its worth, and has decided that he does not know the only certainty by which he lives.
All right.
I feel chastised.
It's a much stronger flavor to it, these two paragraphs.
Yes. Paragraph 3, sentence 1. Uncertainty about what you must be is self-deception. Okay, anytime you're using any of the ego's tools or mindset, you are in essence lying to yourself. Okay? So you're not being who you were created by God to be. And so if you're not being who you were created by God to be, then is it any wonder that you feel off balance, that you feel lost, alone, desperate, depressed? You're not being who God created you to be. You're being an invention that somebody told you was true, a fairy tale that somebody told you was true. Okay, and usually those people who taught you, as as hard as they tried, they usually they don't come from people who are in a place of peace and joy. They're just people who are asleep to also asleep to their true nature. And so they taught you something the best they could, but they taught you something that was not really you. And you know you're supporting something that's not really you when you feel lost, when you feel alone, when you feel off balance, when you feel depressed, when you feel in despair. That's when you know you're in an unconscious act of self-deception. Paragraph 3, sentence 2. To be alive and not to know yourself is to believe that you are really dead. You are really dead, aka you are really depressed, in despair, lost, alone, off balance, confused. And so, okay. And so let's say you're in any situation and you're lacking peace. It's not because of anything out there that you're lacking peace. It's because you're having self-deception. And so you're looking at the situation out here in the physical world, not through your true eyes, but through the programming that you've been inputted with. Like we talked about before, I think it was Isabel, maybe it was Isabel, that you had your sunglasses and then you had your your normal glasses. And so you're when we're feeling that lack of balance, of peace, we're seeing the world through those sunglasses, through that programming. And we're self-deceiving ourselves. We're lying to ourselves. And so don't punish yourself for that. Just simply practice recognizing when you're lying to yourself. If you lack peace, you're lying to yourself. Because you're seeing the world not as it is, not as it was created by God to be experienced and shared, but by how you were programmed to see it. And so it's just a dead-end road. And sometimes you need to cross those dead-end roads off your map, and that's okay.
Can I ask a question though?
Yes, go ahead.
So what you just said is that we're not seeing the world as God created it to be seen. And I'm thinking now about the whole idea of the levels and how this world is supposed to be an illusion. But what you mean is only that, if I'm getting this right, if you can only look through love, then it really doesn't matter what you're looking at because that's the way it's meant to be seen. Is that right?
Yes.
So, hey, okay.
But if you're experiencing, when you see in the world, if you experience a sense of peace, a sense of joy, a sense of trust in the divine design, then you're seeing the world exactly as God created it for you to see and experience and share. And so if you see in every moment as in some way, shape, or form helping you grow, heal, and awaken, then you're seeing what God is actually offering you through your brother and sister. if you're not experiencing any sort of gratitude towards the interaction or the moment, it's because you've seen it as you've been programmed to see it, not as it truly is. And so, yeah.
And that includes all the ugly things that are happening in the world. I mean, I know we have to think ourselves through them, but there's some horrible things happening.
Yes, there are some horrible things, but they will be used by God for good. And so let's say there's a robbery in progress. Okay. Yes, we do what Mike always says, you do what brings you peace. So call the cops. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with calling the cops. There's nothing wrong with maybe getting a little anxious before you call the cops. I need to call the cops. Okay, that's going to bring me peace because I'm helping in whichever way I can in this moment. And so even the darkness of the world, we are there to help bring light to it. We are there to help lead others to the light in them. And so we call the cops. We send the robbers to jail. And maybe in jail, God can work through them, and they can figure out that there are better ways to live life. And so it's not about so much believing in the darkness of the world, because you're not here to add darkness to darkness. You're here to, okay, this is what's happening. How can I bring light into the situation? That's your job. Your job is to bring light into the darkness, truth into the illusion, peace into the chaos. That's your job in each and every interaction and situation. And so you do it in the best way that you know how in that moment.
Very helpful.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions in paragraph 3 and 4? No? Alrighty then, let's go to 5 and 6. Would someone like to read?
I'll read.
All right.
Thus he becomes uncertain of his life, for what it is has been denied by him. It is for this denial that you need atonement. Your denial made no change in what you are, but you have split your mind into what knows and does not know the truth. You are yourself. There is no doubt of this, and yet you doubt it. But you do not ask what part of you can really doubt yourself. It cannot really be a part of you that asks this question, for it asks of one who knows the answer. Were it part of you, then certainty would be impossible. Atonement remedies the strange idea, paradox, that it's possible to doubt yourself and be unsure of what you really are. This is the depth of madness, yet it is the universal question of the world. What does this mean except the world is mad? Why share its madness in the sad belief that what is universal here is true?
All right. Paragraph 5, sentence number 1. Thus he becomes uncertain of his life, for what it is has been denied by him. Sentence number 2. It is for this denial that you need atonement. Okay. This denial is a form of forgetfulness. Okay. And so whenever you're not at peace, whenever you're not joyous, whenever you're not happy, generous, charitable, it's not because you're bad. It's not because you're not spiritual. It's not because you're not wise. It's simply because you have forgotten who you truly are. And that's why you need atonement. Atonement is a way of remembering that you are God's child in creation, that your mind is aligned with the mind of God, that you're here to be the light of the world. And so don't practice not punishing yourself when you feel sad, when you feel depressed, when whatever negative emotion is flowing through your mind. Just see it as, okay, in this moment, I'm denying who I truly am. And so that means that I just forgot who I truly am. And what's the solution to forgetting? It's remembering. So all you have to do is practice remembering who you truly are in those moments. Sentence number 4, paragraph 5. But you have split your mind. That's the ego mind and your true mind, which is the mind of God. Into what knows and does not know the truth. Your true nature knows your truth. The truth in you knows your truth. But the ego mind does not know your truth. And so there's always going to be a part of you that doubts yourself. But whenever that doubt comes in, okay, I'm feeling doubt. What does that mean? I'm feeling doubt. It means that my ego mind is currently in control of my thinking. Okay, no big deal. My ego mind is in control of my thinking. I recognize that, and I now consciously make the choice to align with the mind of God, with my God mind, with the truth within me, and then offer only what the truth in me will offer others. And so here's saying, anytime you're not offering love's expressions, you have simply forgotten. The solution to forgetting is remembering. And then you have a split mind. You have a little piece of the mind, which is the ego, and then you have your true mind, which is the mind of God, love. And so anytime you're forgetting, you simply have unconsciously allowed the ego to take control over your mind. Don't punish yourself for that. Just recognize it and come back to center. Your ego self doubts who you are. Your God self, the truth in you, always knows who you are.
Where it says atonement remedies the strange paradox, basically, it's something that's really it's not real. And how could you doubt yourself, right? If you really knew who you were. Is this kind of how we use the illusion of forgiveness to kind of gap this? Is this part of this, James?
Sure. Remember, the Course calls forgiveness the last illusion, because it doesn't create any more illusions. It's just the doorway from from your doubt to your knowledge, to remembering who you truly are. And so, okay, person X or Y does something that triggers you. Okay, it triggers you because you're allowing the ego to think for you. You're doubting who you truly are. Okay, that you're here.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's a doorway. It's called forgiveness. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever you're here in the delusion, in the doubt, you knock on forgiveness door. You use forgiveness, and you use forgiveness to let go of the dream. And then by doing so, you align with your true mind, which is the mind of God, which is the mind that says, I forgive this dream. And I see only the good that can come from this.
Okay. So these concepts go hand in hand: forgiveness, atonement, forgiveness being the last illusion that you have to get through to remember, right?
Yeah, because the Course says God does not judge because God does not forgive because he does not judge. And so our goal is always to try to think like God thinks. That's our goal in every situation. And so if God does not judge, does not need forgiveness because he does not judge, our goal is to get to a place where we don't have to forgive others. Why? Why? Because we don't judge them. Because we don't waste our time judging them.
That's profound, because when you mention that, I could think of 30 examples of what I would do now versus me 3 years ago, where I don't even see it anymore. Like, I'll have a guy cut me off on the road. We use that one all the time, right? I
Yeah.
just like, okay, all right. Like I don't get worked up, but if I'm with my family, man, the family trance kicks in and everything's flying, every word in every language. I mean, it's wild to see. And when you're with those teachers, the lessons are even more pronounced. And then I then have to share that forgiveness with them. So it's actually a double lesson, right? Because I realize my ego isn't acting out on that guy cutting me off, but I need to have compassion for the family that's in the trance. So it's like I get a double, like 2 for 1 out of that one.
Hmm.
And then what do when you get a 2-for-1?
Twice as grateful.
You're twice as grateful. That's exactly what you do.
That's a buy one, get one free. You don't even have to pay for the first one. I like that.
Double the gratitude.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so thank your family for giving you that opportunity, and thank the person who cut you off. And then what happens when you walk hand in hand with gratitude? You have peace, you have joy, you have understanding, you have compassion, you're kinder, you're gentler. And so you become who God created you to be. And so when you do that, you have accepted the atonement. You have accepted that indeed your mind is one with the mind of God. You are, in essence, the physical representation of God on earth. And so that's our job. Our job is to be God/love on earth. God/love/light on earth. That's our job in each and every situation and each and every moment. It's very simple. The goal is very simple. It's just the programming is the thing that we have to let go of.
Amen.
It gets a little sticky every now and then.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions on paragraph 5 and 6?
Well, I have one.
Yes.
So, if I'm feeling out of alignment and there's a reason that I'm aware of, I can move, it could take a longer time or a shorter time, but I know what's happening. But sometimes I'm out of alignment and I do not recognize any trigger. So let's say I'm just walking around feeling extraordinarily sad. That happens sometimes. Or extraordinarily anxious. Also happens sometimes. I have a harder time dealing with that because I don't have anybody to, like, oh, I have to forgive so-and-so because this is what's causing my grievance because this is what's causing whatever. I don't know why. And, I've struggled with this the whole year because I've told you that, trying to talk to the Holy Spirit and I don't really feel anything there. I mean, this has helped me a huge deal, but there are times when I feel, it recedes eventually. It's not exactly stuck, but you're talking about gratitude. And I'm just trying to think of, I don't know if it's a bypass, so that would be the wrong thing, but does gratitude for just in general, for all the good things you have, fight that? I don't really know what to do with it. What I tell myself is I'm a holy child of God. I just say I'm a holy child of God and I try to just, feel peaceful. But if I'm upset about something, but I don't really know why, I don't know if that's the ego messing with me. I don't really know what it is. I don't know if anybody else experiences this either.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody does. Hey,
I gotta go, guys. I got another class.
I do, Wendy. That
Thank
happens
you,
to me
Mike.
too.
All right, Mike.
Thanks.
See you, Mike.
Bye.
See you, bud.
See you.
Go ahead,
Bye.
Mary. Go ahead,
Bye-bye.
Mary. Mary, go ahead.
No, I was telling Wendy that happens to me too, and I don't know. I'm gonna hate saying this, but I don't know if it's a female thing or a male thing. Because we do have physical differences, women and men.
Hormonal.
And I just thought of that because that happens to me too. And
Yeah.
I think it happens to everybody.
Yeah.
And Wendy, I don't know, but maybe maybe you're not making the connection, but sometimes things that happen to us come back at a later time, and we might feel like sadness or pain, and it's because we carry sometimes stuff, and it's not that easy to let go of everything. I mean, we are working on it and we're all getting better, but sometimes, it takes a little bit of time.
Yeah, okay. So you're feeling a lack of peace, let's say. Okay? No big deal. Guess what? Feel your feelings. There's nothing wrong with feeling your feelings. Okay? Feel your feelings. Okay, I'm sad right now. Okay. Do I want to carry this feeling or do I want to let it go? But I don't have to punish myself for feeling sad or feeling anxious. I just recognize it. Okay, I'm feeling anxious. Okay. I'm not going to punish myself for feeling anxious. I don't know why I'm feeling anxious. It doesn't matter. Because whatever the story is, the ego story is, that triggered this anxiousness, guess what? It's not real. And so the ego can tell you 1,000 stories, and they all can produce 1,000 levels of anxiety. Guess what? It's not real. But there's no need to punish yourself for feeling that unreal feeling. Just feel it. Okay, I'm feeling anxious. Okay. I don't want to feel anxious. Okay. I'm God's child in creation. God did not create me to be anxious. I understand that. Okay. What did God create me to do? He created me to be a light in the world. He created me to be a peaceful being. Okay. So how can I let go of this anxiety and return back to peace? Okay, maybe I can practice using this moment to trust God more and say, God, I don't know why I'm feeling this, but I'm gonna give you this anxiety now. Here you go. You can have it. And in return, I'm gonna accept your peace and I'm gonna trust in your divine design. And so what is really happening? Think about what's really happening. The ego says you're feeling anxious because you're less than or something's wrong, right? But in reality, what's really happening is that God is offering you the opportunity to practice letting go of the delusion and replacing it with his divine design, the trust in his divine design. So he's helping you realize that you have the free will to replace anxiety with trust and thus achieve peace. And so no matter the story, you can always do the same exact thing. That's the simplicity of the course. The answer is always the same. I'm feeling anxious. The ego says 1,000 ways you feel anxious. Doesn't matter. They're all the same. They're all not real or true. They're a fairy tale. Close the book on anxiety. Use this moment not to go dive deeper into it, but instead to trust God more. Oh, I'm anxious. This is a perfect time for me to trust God more. And what happens? You practice trusting God, and then you have peace in that exact same moment. Because you use your free will to let go of the delusion and return back to the atonement, return back to being in alignment with the mind of God. And so this situation here just helped you practice, pardon me, becoming who God created you to be. And so it's good. It's a good thing.
Okay, I have an interesting response to that. Maybe
Yeah.
hilarious. You have said this so many times, and every time you say it, it resonates with me. And I'm like, yes, that is what I need to do. Oh, I've heard you say it for a year. And yet, when I'm in the moment and I'm overtaken by anxiety or sadness, and I'm trying to tell myself I'm a holy child of God, it is like my memory bank is wiped clean. Your book is you have chosen to remember, and my book is I have chosen to forget. I cannot remember that in that moment. It's the most bizarre thing because you've said it so many times, and I still feel like I don't know what I'm supposed to do when I feel like that. It's crazy. Is that I don't know why.
That's fine. That's fine. I mean, you've had 40x years of thinking in one way, and now you've had 1 year of thinking another way. And so, yes, it's going to take a little time to reprogram yourself, and that's okay. Just practice. Say, thank you, God. Immediately start practicing, saying, thank you, God, for giving me this opportunity to practice letting go of my anxiety and trusting you more, and thus achieving the state of peace. Thank you, God.
The first time I remember to do what you just said, I'm going to throw a party for myself.
Yes.
The first time I'm in that anxious space and I can't get out of it, and I remember to say, I'm giving this to you, God, and things clear for me, I'm going to have myself a little Course in Miracles personal party.
Exactly. So yes, so let anxiety, say to yourself, let my anxiety trigger me the decision to thank God for this opportunity to practice trusting him more and thus achieving peace. And when you do, guess what? Little by little, you'll spend less and less time in anxiety and more time in peace. And then this decision for peace will become easier and easier, and you'll remember quicker and quicker. And so just practice, and it's okay. Practice makes you perfect, even though you already are.
Can I share something?
Yes.
This course is mostly to improve our relationships. And one of the relationships we are improving in this moment is with ourselves. I made it a habit since 3 months ago to review my day every night. And if I have been resentful at someone, I put yes if I've been resentful. Have I been selfish? I put yes if I have been selfish about something. Have I been fearful? I do. Okay. Yes, I've been fearful about this situation. I feel like I'm not prepared about it. And yes. So then after that, the next practice that I was taught to do is to release it in a prayer, to write it down. Why I'm resentful? What happened? Just 5 lines, not to go into too much details. Easy, because blah 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 blah. And I can see what make me resentful. Like yesterday, I had my niece and she was 2 hours with a client. And I became anxious about it. And I became anxious when I did my inventory at the end of the day. I was like, why I was anxious? Why I became resentful at her? I said, because to me, it's upsetting to have to be on a phone 2 hours with a client, that the client is complaining and complaining and complaining about the services. And she's there, so she told me, "Tia, auntie, but that's how she bends. This client needs to be heard." I say, yeah, I know, I understand. Maybe half an hour, just to tell her you want to take care of that. You're gonna give a solution, blah blah blah. But it's a lot, because a lot of cortisol comes to you. The patient is very negative. Because it was like that, she's an elderly lady around her 90s, and she told me she's very difficult, auntie. She's very difficult. I'm the only one, she says, the client says that I'm the only one that is able to listen to her. So in my, again, I was out of alignment. I was upset about it. I was like, no, I think it's you allowing her to cross your boundaries is 2 hours or something. You have your dinner and you still with a client there. Anyway, so when I was, doing my examination of consciousness about what's going on, why I was resentful, I see it like I need to say something more about her, to her. I'm low, my tolerance is very low about this. I'm being a little bit unconsidered about the situation. This client has issues and it's been a month since I haven't talked to her. So it's a few things, I became compassionate about it. I had to release and see my niece acting that way in a prayer, to have more tolerant view of the situation, to building me that tolerance, so I don't need to be upset about it. If she's want to do 2 hours, 3 hours, okay, it's her own choice. But yeah, it's pride. Sometimes it's me wanting to be more firm with her. I'm just holding on to, things, and many times wanted to be firm with my daughter, let's say, about something, and instead I'm, maybe holding it, not to say it at the moment, stuff like that. So I think, yes, when we do a search of, a review of our day, maybe at the end we may find something that we could release and forgive it, or let it go. Because just by not seeing it, and by not putting some kind of, by not adding some compassion, a different way of seeing it, is going to stay there, and it may build back, it may repeat. So finding a way, I guess, on how to see the same situation differently, and finding peace, because we can control what happens outside.
Yes,
It's helping me.
that is excellent. Anytime, if you can, anytime before you go to sleep, review what you experienced during the day, and what parts of the day you gave over to the ego,
Mhm.
and how you can shift it, and how you can, as the lesson says, I will accept atonement for myself. So how can I go from the ego's mindset to God's mindset? And in doing so, achieve peace. And so it's a very useful exercise. Thank you. Would somebody like to read number 7 and 8? I'll go ahead and read number 7 and 8. Nothing the world believes is true, aka nothing the ego's world believes is true. It is a place whose purpose is to be a home where those who claim they do not know themselves can come to question what it is they are. And they will come again until the time atonement is accepted. Okay. And they learned it is impossible to doubt yourself and not to be aware of what you are. Paragraph 8. Only acceptance can be asked of you, for what you are is certain. It is set forever in the holy mind of God and in your own. It is so far beyond all doubt and question that to ask what it must be is all the proof you need to show that you believe the contradiction, that you that you know not what you cannot fail to know. A little tricky there.
Mhm.
Is this a question or a statement which denies itself in statement? Let us not allow our holy minds to occupy themselves with the senseless musings such as these. Okay. And so paragraph 8, sentence 5, the last sentence. Let us not allow our minds to occupy themselves with the senseless musings such as these. So let us not allow the ego to occupy our minds with its little fairy tales. All we have to do is remember, my mind belongs aligned with the mind of God. Period. The end. Okay. And then sentence number 1 of paragraph 7. Nothing the world believes is true. AKA, nothing the ego's world believes is true. Okay. Only love is real. Only love is true. Mm-hmm.
What I like about this, again, I'm being a little more high level tonight than I usually am, but when I see nothing the world believes is true is a place whose purpose is and then will come again until the atonement is accepted. It reminds me of the line in the Course that says, it's not a question of if you do this curriculum, but when. So it's almost like this, where it's going to wait. God's going to wait for you as long as he has to, because he can wait. He's in eternity, right? And you're going to run this process, and you're going to run this obstacle course enough times that sooner or later you're going to get it. And you'll be brought to it through his grace.
Mm-hmm.
And I love how there's parallels that the Course can bring together and show that there's a lot of different ways to perceive through love, but they all take you to the same place.
Yes, and so it's not a rat race. The ego will love you to think this is a rat race, but you have to get enlightened by a certain time, certain date, certain age, or else you are a failure.
Yeah.
Or not whatever enough, not good enough, not whatever enough. And so that's the beauty. There is no such thing as time. Okay, you are eternal. God is eternally within you. All you have to do is decide that this world, the ego's world, has nothing of value to offer you. Okay? You don't want its judgments of self and others. You don't want its anger. You don't want its resentment. You don't want its hate. You don't want this world's anxiousness and fears and doubts and worries. You don't want anything that the ego's world has to offer you. All you truly want is to remember that in each and every moment, you're here to align with the mind of God and be who God created you to be, the loving light of this world. And so
Dave,
yes.
I was just going to ask, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I thought you were done.
Right.
So is the ego the only real veil? Is the ego the only real veil between us and God?
Yes.
And there is nothing else?
Nothing else. The ego, remember, the ego itself is not really even real. Okay? But we've been programmed to believe it's real. Just like we talked about before. When you read a child a fairy tale, little by little, they believe it's real. And they get scared of it. And so that's what we believed. We believed in what they taught us. And they did the best they could. But, they weren't fully healed and awakened. And so they gave us some information that was that led us to these little nightmares. And the beautiful thing about it is, no matter how many little nightmares you believe are true, they can all be released when you awaken. No matter the 100 nightmares that you can have, once you awaken, they're all gone. Okay? And so all that it takes is a recognition that the ego's world is not your world. You do not belong playing its little silly games.
So when we're in alignment, where is the ego just aside for a while until it reappears, or what's happening when we're in alignment? Like, where did the ego go, or what's happening to it? Is it get weaker as you go along? Like you've been doing this for 30 years or whatever. Does the ego just become very, very weak and then it's just sort of cast aside and you're mostly in alignment and it just rears up every now and again? I'm just curious because I haven't been practicing long enough to really know how this goes long term. And I'm just trying to understand what will happen if I keep committing myself to these practices.
Yeah, you just spend less and less and less time in the delusion, in the dream. And you spend more and more time aligned with the mind of God in the atonement, at one with God, with the mind of God. And so because of that, the ego has less and less and less power. And so the veil becomes thinner and thinner and thinner between you and the truth in you. And so you spend less time in anger and in judgment, and you recognize it quicker when you're not somewhere where you truly belong. And so you shift directions. And so it just becomes you spend less time in the delusion.
And the understanding is that Jesus and Buddha and those who have come the closest to God have been able to erase the ego so that they're just in alignment all the time. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know them personally, but
no, I mean the way the Course perceives them.
Yeah, I mean, remember, like Jesus, he turned tables over and kind of thing. So was he in alignment all the time? Maybe not, but it's just the thing is, okay, let's say we fall into the little ego ditch. Okay, we don't have to punish ourselves for that. We just have to recognize this ditch here, I don't belong here. And then you put up your arm and God lifts you out of the ditch and you continue on your journey. And so you don't spend so much time and energy sacrificing your focus to false idols.
Oh, now I'm excited. That I have experienced. I experienced enough peace that there are times when I am not at peace and I'm like, oh no, this is not where I want to be.
Right.
I'm not even going to stay here very long, and I can move out of it if it's not something, deeply triggering or whatever.
Yeah.
I can move out of it. Oh, so it'll just be more of that.
Yes.
Oh,
More and more of that. Yes.
well, that sounds good.
Yeah. And that's called the heavenly mindset.
The heavenly mindset.
Yeah. Because you can either go through the ego and experience the hellish mindset, where judgment and fear rule, or you can experience the heavenly mindset, seen through God's eyes, where love, compassion, kindness, forgiveness rule.
You know what? The ego is kind of like a bad ex-boyfriend.
Okay.
Like you don't really want to be with him anymore, but when he shows up, you're kind of attracted, and then you like hang out with him for a while and you're like, oh my God, why did I go back with you? And then you get rid of him again.
Basically.
Oh my God, that's so funny, Wendy. I like it. I've been there.
Right? Am I right? I mean, anybody who's been in a bad
Yeah.
relationship and you keep feeling drawn to that person, you know that feeling. You're like, why do I keep doing this to myself?
You could say that.
Adrenaline, because it's like puts you up and down, up and down. Sometimes you like that roller coaster. It's exciting. It's scary, exciting. Yeah, but sometimes the liability is way too high. I don't want. It's gonna cost us so much, and then is when we decide not to engage much into that. But I think we unconsciously go back to ego. Like now we're using our ego to see how can we be happy, more friendly with our ego, and sometimes in trying, to be friendly in that sense, not to have it as an enemy, to be more into this balance between our spirituality and human side. We may fail sometimes, we may fail, and try just, I guess, just try it again and again, choose again, sometimes every 10 minutes or every 10 seconds, I don't know, but
Yeah. This is as simple as I can put it. Okay. We can use the ego. We can learn to use the ego as an ally instead of an adversary. Okay. Let's say we have anger, and we use the ego as an adversary. What happens? We focus on that anger and we fall into that darkness, right? That's one way. The other way is we have anger, and now we use the ego as an ally. How do we do that? We recognize that this place here, anger, is not where we belong. So we use anger to trigger in us the memory that we do not belong here, which takes us back into alignment with who we truly are. And so we can always use the ego as an adversary or an ally in our awakening process.
That's like one of the best things you ever said. Why'd it take a whole year for me to hear that? Well, like in Kabbalah, they call the ego the opponent.
Yes.
And so there's no, you know what I mean? Like it's trying to trip you up. It's trying to take you to a bad place, a dark place. And you're just supposed to be aware of it so you don't let it drag you down there. But this is interesting, like to use it as an ally to help you.
Yes.
Can you say more about that?
Yeah, it can show you where you do not belong. Okay, so you don't belong. Oh, I'm having anger. I don't belong here in anger. Thank you, ego, for giving me the opportunity to realize I don't belong here, for triggering me that the memory that this is not where I belong. I belong at peace. And so the more you get to practice this shift and using using the ego as an ally, the quicker you come from here to here.
And back to my analogy about a bad boyfriend, when you date somebody bad, sometimes it shows you what you don't want.
Right, exactly.
So it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Showing me what I don't want.
And then what do? You thank your ex-boyfriend, maybe not out loud, but in your mind, and say, thank you for showing me who I don't want to be with.
In Spanish, there is a saying, Ten tus amigos lejos, pero tus enemigos cerca. And have
Yes,
your friends far and your enemies closer.
yes.
Because with your friends, it's okay, everything is fine, but with your enemies, you don't know what's gonna happen. So what, like, okay, better be friendly with them. Better be like, otherwise could attack you in the back when you're sleeping with the enemy. So rather make peace with those people that, like it could be dangerous.
Okay, would somebody like to read number 9 and 10?
Okay, let me help. Let me cooperate here. All right, we have a mission here. We did not come to reinforce the madness that we once believed in. Let us not forget that the goal that we accepted, it is more than just our happiness alone we came to gain. What we accept as what we are proclaims what everyone must be along with us. Fail not your brothers, or you fail yourself. Look lovingly on them, that they may know that they are part of you and you of them. This does atonement teach and demonstrates that oneness of God's Son is unassailed by his belief he knows not what he is. Today accept atonement, not to change reality, but merely to accept the truth about yourself and go your way rejoicing in the endless love of God. It is but this that we are asked to do. It is but this that we will do today. Yoo-hoo! Wow.
Yes, paragraph 9, sentence 1 and 2. We have a mission here, okay?
Mhm.
This is number 2. We did not come to reinforce the madness, okay? We did not come to answer judgment with judgment. We did not come to answer anger with anger. We did not come to answer fear with more fear. We came to bring light into the world, okay? So that's our mission. We have a mission here to bring light into the world, not to add darkness to darkness. Let us not forget the goal that we accepted. And so even before we came here, this little planet called Earth, we accepted this goal. And our goal was to bring light into the darkness.
I
Yes.
love I love line 5. What we accept as what we are proclaims what everyone must be along with us. And I wasn't there when you were talking about the 8 billion people analogy, which I found extremely fascinating when it was said to me, because if I can change my perspective, I change how I see 8 billion people. If I
Yes.
had to go and change 8 billion people one by one and mess with them, it would be truly impossible. So by virtue of just looking at the world through love, the entire world becomes love,
Amen.
which
And
is just mind-blowingly profound to me.
exactly. And that's something key to always recall. Okay. Because the ego wants you where? He wants you to search out there.
He
Okay.
wants me to change 8 billion people's friggin'
Exactly.
mind.
Yes. Yes. That's what the ego wants.
Right. It's
Because
insane.
what is the ego's motto? Search but do not find. So how can you possibly change 8 billion people? But the ego says you must change 8 billion people for you to have peace.
I mean, it's a phenomenal way that for the ego, because it
Yeah.
exists in time, and it would take you literally well past your own lifetime to even get a dent in any of this.
Yes.
It's wild.
Yeah. But what if instead you made the conscious decision to only see this world and everybody in it through God's eyes, through love's eyes, through the eyes of compassion and forgiveness and kindness and charity? What would happen to everybody out there? How much more light would you offer them if you only see them as God created them? And how much more peace would you have if you've made the one decision? I am going to see my brothers and sisters as God created them. And when you have that lens of peace, guess what? Everybody out there is now more peaceful. Everybody out there is giving that gift of peace. And so, yeah, that's a huge shift from the external locus of control, as psychologists call it, to the internal locus of control. If I change my mind, I change the world. If I heal my mind, I heal the world. It's a key shift. Any other comments or questions on paragraph 9 and 10?
I have a comment or question. It's not exactly on that, but it's probably important to everybody in the group, I think. Everybody knows Marianne Williamson is coming on the 24th to the book fair.
Yes.
I was able to get 3 tickets. They're not too, I don't see that there's a way to get tickets just to her. They're tickets to the fair to get in. I was able, because I'm a faculty, to get 3. If James wanted to go, I was going to offer him one, and then anybody else who wants one. And I'm also asking my friends who are faculty and not going to use their free tickets to get them for me, so I can offer as many as possible to the group on that day. That's all.
Sounds good.
Hit me up if you want one.
All right.
I want one.
Okay.
Where you
Eric?
gonna be?
Thanks.
It's 24th. Did you want to go, Eric?
Thank you, Wendy. I'll be in New York City.
Okay. Well, then I have one more. Isabel can
Yes.
have one. And James, do you want one or you don't know?
I'm not sure yet, but I might want one of them. Yeah.
Okay. Then I have
Mm.
one more after that, and I'll probably be able, I know for sure I should be able to get 3 more, because I asked a friend of mine and she said she's not going to use them.
So if you
Those
can get,
tickets-
if you can get another one, Wendy, I would love to go.
Yeah, I think
Thank
I'm going
you.
to get 3 more. But just, can you guys text me so that I remember who I'm supposed to get them for, please?
Yes.
I'll do that, Wendy. Thank you. How
Paragraph,
much? You know?
yeah. Paragraph 10. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I said, I'm sorry for bringing that in the middle, but I thought I was going to forget and you were going to end the class, and I just wanted to make sure I told everybody. Sorry, James.
Yeah, that's okay. Paragraph 10, sentence 2. Today, accept atonement. Not to change the reality, but to merely accept the truth about yourself. Or said it in another way. Today, accept that your mind is one with God's mind. Not to change the world, but to change your mind about the world. And so your job is not to change the world. Your job is to change your mind about the world.
That's the miracle, right? The miracle is changing your mind about the world, and the way the world goes from there is on their payday, right? Like we're not
Yes.
responsible for that extension.
Yes. And isn't it a lot easier to
Oh.
change your mind about the world instead of having to change the world?
I mean, it's so vast, the spread between those. It's hard to even comprehend. But I see it when like I said on Sunday, when I'm around my family and I'm really expressing myself from the lens of love, I see them shift, and it begins in the bullseye, right? The ones closest to you are in that bullseye, and then it spreads out, and it's been amazing.
It's a beautiful thing. Yes.
Amen.
I think that must be happening in me too, even if I don't have like 100% awareness of how it's going, because things are happening with my students that have not happened before. I just got a batch of papers where they write a significant event. I've been doing this for many, many years. You know, you might get 1 or 2 who talk very deeply about trauma or something else. I'm getting students who are just telling me things that are, I mean, they're horribly painful, but I feel so honored that they feel safe enough to talk about their experiences. And I just wonder, am I sending some kind of vibe, that I wasn't sending before? I've always had students come to me privately with troubles and stuff like this. I've just never had this overwhelming amount of students opening up like this. And I thought maybe I'm just sending out some vibe that says, there's only love here for you or something. I don't really know.
Yeah, when you start to develop more peace, inner peace, guess what happens? Other people feel safer around you.
Oh yeah.
You become a kind of shelter within the storm because you are at peace. And so, yes, when you are at peace, when you are aligned with the mind of God, it'll be like fireflies to the light. Because everybody, in truth, knowingly or not, everybody wants peace. Everybody wants joy. Everybody wants to feel fulfilled. Everybody wants to try to be charitable. Everybody wants all of love's expressions. Why? Why? Because that's what we were created by God to be, do, and share. And so when you're being that, everybody around you is going to come towards you and say, listen, whatever it is that you're reading, and I want to read, or whatever it is that you're doing, I want to try to do. Why? Because they want what you have. And they know that they deserve to have what you have. They just don't know how to get it. And so that's why they're coming towards you and opening up. Because they're saying to you, by the way they're writing to you, and saying, listen, I want that peace. I want to be at peace. And they see that you have that peace. And that you can be a doorway to them, to a greater place of peace within them. And so that's what's happening.
Well, I'm taking it as a sacred responsibility,
It is, yeah.
you know, and I'm trying to do what you have taught and what the course teaches, which is to try to offer the same characteristics that God would offer. So I write them back compassionately. I tell them I'm sorry for the struggles, you know, that I hear them and that I'm touched that they trusted me to share that with me, you know, and to know that I'm there for them. That's all I can do. But it just feels like there has been a real shift. I've always been close to my students, but this is just something else that wasn't there before. So I'll give thanks to the course.
Wendy, it's the ripple effect. You'll be amazed. The more that you practice, the more that you will see it all around you, and the more that you will extend to others. And you'll see it in your family, and in your friends, and in your students.
You, Mari.
Thank you. Any more questions or comments on paragraph 9 and 10?
I think it's a beautiful opportunity that, you know, to be in front of students like Wendy has. The many opportunities to give, and this giving is beyond what just the class, what it is, you know, required or something. This being kind, being compassionate, being loving, being understanding. It's not everybody can be like that. You know, people sometimes say busy, rushing. So you have to, I don't know, make a line, an appointment to see the teachers, and sometimes you barely, you know, spend time with you. And when someone does care, it's a beautiful thing, and keep expanding. And you have a beautiful quality, Wendy. You're very sincere. You opening up. You know, I can see I'm learning from you. You know, being this how we say vulnerable with us, and I'm opening up myself, kind of like I wish I can be that way as well in many ways. I wish I would have the opportunity to be teaching. It's so many souls right there, you know, hungry of on learning and growing. It's a blessing to be there in your place, Wendy.
Thank you, Isabel. And it's funny what you just said about people not having time, because my first reaction is I can't just slap a grade on these. I really have to talk to these students. And I have like 250 papers waiting to be graded. I'm like, this is going to take me forever. And then my mind just aligned properly. And I said, what you're here to do is to be there for them. And you'll get through everything else later. Put that aside and talk to them. And that's what I did. I spent my time answering them, you know, writing very specific comments about what they wrote. And I knew I was doing the right thing. But like I said, it's just, it almost makes me want to cry. It's just so, I'm just so honored that they, you know, trust me enough to want to talk to me about these things. They're really dark. And I feel like I must have something I need to give them.
Lovely. Yes. Okay, would somebody like to finish up with number 11 and 12?
I'll go.
All right, thank you.
5 minutes in the morning and at night, we will devote to dedicate our minds to our assignment for today. We start with this review of what our mission is. I will accept atonement for myself, for I remain as God created me. We have not lost the knowledge that God gave to us when He created us like Him. We can remember it for everyone, for in creation are all minds as one. And in our memory is the recall how dear our brothers are to us in truth, how much a part of us is every mind, how faithful they have really been to us, and how our Father's love contains them all. This is beautiful. In thanks for all creation, in the name of its Creator and His oneness with all aspects of creation, we repeat our dedication to our cause today, each hour, as we lay aside all thoughts that would distract us from our holy aim. For several minutes, let your mind be clear of all the foolish cobwebs which the world would weave around the Holy Son of God, and learn the fragile nature of the claims that seem to keep the knowledge of yourself apart from your awareness. As you say, I will accept atonement for myself, for I remain as God created me. Amen.
Amen.
Mm.
Paragraph-
I,
Yeah, go
I-
ahead.
I'm sorry, but there's a sentence in paragraph 11 that is beautiful. And in our memory is the recall how dear our brothers are to us in truth. How much a part of us is every mind. How faithful they have really been to us, and how our Father's love contains them all.
Yes, how faithful have they really been to us? Okay, and each interaction below the surface, below whatever the ego tells you the interaction is, there's a truth. And the truth is that your brother and sister is simply offering you the opportunity in that interaction to consciously align with the mind of God and thus become who you were created by God to be. Okay? So that's what they are offering you in each and every interaction, no matter what the ego's little story is. No matter what you're looking at you're looking at the play, and there's a scene, okay? No matter what the scene is, what the scene truly is that they are offering you now the opportunity to see them as God created them, and as only as God created them. And in doing so, let go of the veils that stand between you and your truth and become the light of the world that God created you to be. And that's what each and every person in our lives is always offering us. Okay? So that's their faithfulness to us. That's their service to us. Our ego might not allow us to see that, but that's truly what's happening. Okay? And so let us thank our brothers and sisters, no matter what the ego says, how we should react to them, let us thank them. Because all they did was give us one more opportunity to practice remembering who we truly are. God's child in creation, forever worthy of His love, His grace, His mercy, His joy, and peace. And so thank you, brother and sister, for coming into my presence, for offering me this opportunity to choose forgiveness over judgment, to choose compassion over condemnation, to choose love over fear, and thus peace over pain. That's what every single brother and sister that you will ever meet is offering you that opportunity. So thank you.
Wow, that's a praise.
Amen. If I may say something to Wendy,
Yes.
Wendy, I think that you are a fantastic teacher. I see it in the questions that you ask when we are reading in class and going through the sentences and the paragraphs. And I'm thinking that it's a beautiful thing that your students are coming to you and they're going through these difficult moments in their lives. And imagine the hope that you are offering them by the opportunity to let them see that there's good in the world and that you care for them. Because a lot of people are very lonely. And I think young people nowadays are struggling with things that we did not have to deal with when we were growing up with social media and many other things. But God is using you. And what a beautiful thing that you came to this class. And what a beautiful thing that you are of service like that. You are a teacher. That's what Jesus was. That's a beautiful thing. We not all have that gift. I bless you, Wendy.
Oh, Mari, thank you so much. I feel now like God must be working through me, like in what's happening. I mean, I know I belong with my students, but like I said, things have shifted and I definitely feel some strange things happening. And I do feel like I need to be more of service and be very attuned to them, that I've been offered an opportunity. And like I said, it's an honor that they trust me with their hearts and what's happening with them, and they need something from me. And I'm going to figure out a way to give it to them. Thank you. I appreciate you.
And paragraph 11, sentence 4, we have not lost the knowledge that God gave to us when he created us like him. And so remember, who we truly are is not some sort of destination. It's simply a realization. Okay? And so the love in you is not, you don't have to travel somewhere to find that love. You just have to realize that you are that love. And you realize each and every time you are that love when you interact with your brothers and sisters, with your students. And of course, this we're all teaching all the time. And so whoever comes to us is our student and it's our teacher. And so we're either teaching love or we're teaching fear.
And I was going to say that to Mari. You are a teacher for me. All of you are a teacher for me. I have learned in 1 year, I have learned, and I can't even say what I've taken from what everybody's given me here. Thank you all.
Thank you. Any final comments or questions before we close?
I was wanting to say it's my anniversary too. I started a year ago.
Oh, really? Wow.
Hey,
Yes, in November. I know. James, how many years do you have with the Course in Miracles, if I could ask?
On and off since 91.
Wow.
So I guess what's that? 33 years or so? 34?
And
I think
in
I
this
think-
last iteration, how many years straight without leaving the course?
I'm sorry, what?
In this last iteration of you being part of the course, how many years without coming and going?
Oh, I can't say that. I come and go. But what I did do is that because I was coming and going so much of, in and out of the course, I decided that I wanted to go to classes, and that would keep me involved. So that's why I went to the classes in Unity, and then I started other classes, and obviously the classes that we have now on Zoom. And Mike has been doing that for like 35 years or so, right, Mike?
Sometime in the 80s.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, I didn't like hearing you say you come and go, James, because I'm like, well, when's he going to go? I don't want him to go. That's why I was trying to ask you, how long have you been doing this now? Like maybe it's so long that he's not going.
Well, the thing is that when I started, well, it was before the internet, and so I didn't know there were groups, and so I would do the course by myself in like Venezuela,
Mm.
and I didn't have anybody to share it with. So
How long
so-
have you been at this group, like Unity?
yeah, it's been a long time. It's been like I don't know, 10 years.
Good.
With Charles and Mike.
Oh, good. Glad to hear it. Just
Yeah.
waiting for you to say you're not going anywhere. Go ahead and say that.
Unless
I'm gonna let you go anywhere. I'm gonna call you and go bring you.
You know, we're gonna show up at your house if you decide to take a break. We're gonna be like, hey James,
What's up?
let us in.
Let us see exactly.
Hey Wendy, Mike didn't hear what you said about the tickets to Marianne Williamson. He might be interested.
Yeah, Mike, I planned on getting, I figured it James and Mike first. I mean, and Charles, because they lead our groups. Mike, I was able to get it's not tickets to Marianne Williamson because I've written some of the administrators to find out they don't show as being able to book tickets like they do for the evening speakers like Dawn Lemon. They just show where she's going to be, but I have volunteered to be in the room and I'm waiting to hear if they're going to let me be in the room to introduce her because I thought that would make it easier for me to get my friends up front. I don't know. We'll just see what happens.
Okay.
But I do have tickets to get to the fair that day. I have 3 and a friend of mine. We're only allowed to get 3 each as faculty. And a friend of mine, she doesn't go. I asked her to get me 3, her 3. So that would be 6. So would you like one of the tickets, Mike?
Sure.
Okay. Happy to do that for you.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, my friends. So I will accept atonement for myself. I will consciously align with the mind of God and remember that this is where I truly belong and where we all truly belong.
Amen.
The mind of God.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. God bless everybody, and we'll see each other soon.
All
Thank-
right.
Thank you,
All right.
everyone. Have a good night.